Welcome to Finding Monster Rock, the show about finding monsters. Rock.
Rock.
I want to rock!
I'm your host, Adam Lemrock.
And I'm Alice Stoniak. And get ready to have a queer-coded old time because we're here to talk about the Great Gazoo. Just one more thing, Adam. Do you like this feather boa?
That's not a boa, that's a boa. Boa.
It's a living.
Yes, we're going to be talking about the Great Gazoo, the character from the Flintstones, everyone's favorite modern Stone Age family. And by modern, I mean this series is set in the 60s and has troubles.
Yep.
This is a problematic piece of its times. It's from an era when, being a housewife was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of all you did.
I kind of wish that was still a thing. It would honestly make my life a little bit easier.
Yeah. Instead, now women have rights.
Sorry, guys.
But yeah, no. This is the Flintstone. I had a fun time recently rewatching specifically the 11 episode of the Flintstones that were about the Great Gazoo.
Now you say rewatching, Adam. You're 27.
I am 28.
28. You just had a birthday 2 months ago.
Right now.
Yes. Happy birthday. I'm 26. Neither of us have ever goddamn seen the Flintstones.
Not true. I think possibly via Boomerang, the program that preceded Cartoon Network.
Boomerang definitely had some reruns.
And I think encouraged by my mother. I had seen a couple episodes of the Flintstones before this.
It's old, and that must mean it's good, clean Christian wholesomeness.
Yeah, it's definitely I'll say it a couple more times, a product of its times. This episode is called The 100 Deeds for the Great Gazoo. Because I want to talk a little bit about this character and his role in the show because it was never resolved. The Flintstones didn't have a finale or anything like that. So he's kind of lost in limbo. Like the show 100 Deeds for Eddie McDowd, which is a much more obscure reference in the Flintstones. You have not heard of this series, correct?
I have not.
I believe it was a Canadian, Nickelodeon show about this kid named Eddie McDowd who was magically turned into a dog because he was a bad kid.
Okay.
He was really mean to people, maybe even dogs too. And the person that changed him there, the wizard of sorts, said you have to do 100 good deeds, then I'll turn you back. The series unfortunately was canceled. 40 episodes in, he would do about one good deed an episode. So Eddie McDowd is currently a dog forever.
That's very sad.
Yes.
I'll be honest. That is too much of a called shot. They should.
You think they were really confident they were going to have 100 episodes?
They should have known that they did not have 100 episodes worth of dog TV in them.
Yeah, I don't disagree. So, in a similar way,
this is a limited miniseries. We need an HBO miniseries for Eddie McDowd
to bring it back. He's at the end of his journey. He's 90 through 100.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Great Gazoo is a little green alien.
Yep.
Who is, as you said, queer-coded in a way. He's very eccentric.
In a way, dum-dum. He's pretty gay, guys.
I'm not gonna lie. Just looking at this picture, look at the look in his eyes.
Gang, yeah.
Look at how he dresses.
Well, here's the thing. Back in the 60s, we didn't know that was supposed to be a gay thing. It just sounded mysterious.
Right. So the first episode in the run is called The Great Gazoo. Mm-hmm. And it starts off with him crash landing his UFO in Bedrock, a prehistoric society. A
prehistoric modern town.
Yes. For you Gen Zers out there that don't know of the tales, because the Flintstones, as we mentioned, they didn't have any modern reboots or anything like that.
As I've been trying to say for the past 4 minutes and 27 seconds. Most of my exposure to the Flintstones as a 26-year-old in the year of our Lord Jesus Christ, King of Heaven and Space, 2021, has been through commercials for cereal.
And vitamins.
I didn't even get vitamin commercials.
Really?
Yeah, they were off the air by my time.
Okay, well there you have it. So yeah, the Flintstones. It's about Fred and Wilma, his wife.
Yep.
They have a kid named Pebbles.
They have a cat, but only in the end credits.
Yeah, and they have a dog who's a dinosaur named Dino.
Yep.
The other couple is Barney and
Wilma. No,
nope.
Barney and Betty.
Barney and Betty.
Barney and Betty Rubble.
Uh-huh.
And they have a son named Bam Bam.
Fred is the most developed character. He has a job. He has likes and wants. Everyone around him, including Barney, are just are imitations, shadows, homunculi surrounding him. And they don't really have any purpose or wants or desires. Wilma just wants to kind of spend his money. Barney, I didn't even learn his job watching these episodes. Fred works in construction for a slate company, moving rocks around. It's a bunch of modern conveniences that are reimagined as dinosaurs.
Yep, the dinosaurs are trucks, the dinosaurs are dishwashers, they're vacuum cleaners, they're bowling balls.
They're also bridges and traffic signals.
I mean, we got to talk about the dinosaur rebellion that's got to happen at some point.
Absolutely. They have been underworked and underappreciated for too long.
Overworked.
And underappreciated for too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Gazoo was their twist in the 6th season to kind of give the show a little more life. And like Scrappy-Doo, in a similar time period, it kind of didn't land, pun intended.
Okay.
I think the main problem with the Great Gazoo is his rules and his systems and what's going on with him is all the fuck over the place. He crash lands his UFO, and he gets Fred and Barney's help to press a button and let him out of his UFO.
Barney, did you see that? I sure did, Fred. Ha 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 ha. Barney.
Yeah, that's a pretty good.
We need to help this extraterrestrial.
It's a spot on.
Cereal vitamins.
Somewhere.
This is my perfect impression of Fred and Barney from the Flintstones.
Fred and Barney and the lady from Monsters Inc.
Wilma.
Eldritch horror fled for Flintstones. So they help. All right.
Gee, Mr. Slade, I'm having existential dread.
Okay, so Gazoo introduced himself as the former headmaster scientist on planet Zetox.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
ask your doctor if Zetox is right for you.
He is upset that he been sent all the way back to the Stone Age.
Yep.
He's been punished by his overlords for conspiring against them with his latest invention. His latest invention is a button that if you press it, zam, it disintegrates everything in the universe.
Press it, pussy. Do it.
Yeah, so for making this Doomsday device, he was kind of punished by sending back in time and has to do various good deeds in order to be escorted back to his own time. So he's a time traveler alien who does magic. He's been called a wizard, a sorcerer. I think this might be like a Superman type situation.
Okay.
Where his powers are greatly enhanced on Earth.
Oh, interesting.
Although he says that his powers are just a fraction of what they once were.
So it's not that. They're not stronger on Earth, they are weaker on Earth.
Weaker on Earth. So on his own planet, you can imagine just the things that he'd do.
Oh my god. Like an entire society of just gods.
Basically. This is a real ancient astronauts theory if you think about it.
Well, I'm assuming that's why they decided to cross that thread. It's like the Eric von Däniken angle.
I don't know if that was way back in 1965.
Well, sure it was. Sure. I mean, when did that book come out?
It's the Chariot of the Gods.
Chariot of the Gods, the Eric von Däniken seminal text on the ancient astronaut theory that posits that ancient humans that weren't white were bad and wrong, and that aliens did everything that non-white people actually did in real life. Because human beings are a remarkable, beautiful species created by our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ,
Okay,
King of Space.
I believe 68 is when that came out.
Okay.
It could be in the zeitgeist around then.
Could have been in the zeitgeist.
Yeah, so...
King of Outer Space. All right, go ahead.
Basically, I want to... he... In a way, he's also like a genie, because he's kind of like, your wish is my command, whatever you want, I'll give you. But he's also kind of a scamp. So sometimes when they call on him, he doesn't show up. Sometimes when, like, you know, they really just need his help, he'll give them something, but it's not really what they want. It backfires in their, in their faces. Mm-hmm. And I want us to kind of examine him as, like, the Council of Zetox. And say, like, oh, did you do enough good deeds that you deserve to come back?
Okay, yeah, let's see.
In his 11-episode run.
Now, it's not going to be actually 100 because he was only in 11 episodes.
Right, so he did about approximately 11 things.
Yeah.
I think for a score system, we can give him either a +1 or a +2.
Okay.
And if you think it's bad, a -1 or a -2.
Right.
Or 0.
Or a 0, yeah.
So, okay, so his first thing is that, now that he's forced to serve these two prehistoric dum-dums, is that...
He calls everybody dum-dums because, again, just super queer-coded.
He warns them that greed brings trouble.
Okay.
But when they learn they can get whatever they want, they quickly wish for many things. They ask for, like, a new golf club set, new dresses for their wives.
I thought you were going to say new wives.
They should have. People that we agree with. They get basically like all these like doodads and gifts for the house. Shortly after, the cops roll up and they say, "What are you doing with all the stolen goods?" So
he took them from somewhere else,
or he just kind of gave them to them without any receipts or any form of identification. So would you count this as a good act or kind of an ill one? Because he is giving them exactly what they want.
Wait, so he did conjure the stuff out of thin air, but somehow the cops know about that and they're suddenly suspicious that they stole it from somewhere, even though they don't know that anything was stolen.
They assume that they're just, because they're hanging out here with all this stuff, that it was clearly stolen. You think this is on the cops?
ABCCCAB.
Okay.
All before Christ cops are bastards. Before Christ, King of Outer Space. Who reformed the police and abolished ICE.
So, following this, they're like, all right, we gotta be smarter about this. So Fred and Barney are like, hey, let's go take our wives to the nicest place in town. I think it's like this happens like in 3 of these episodes I watched. They go to the nicest place in town. And every time it's a different place. So,
sure.
They take them out for this wonderful, amazing meal. And it costs them $225.
Okay.
Which in 65 money is like $1,900 in today money.
No, that's 65 BC, right?
Yes, so it's probably...
Before Christ. King of Space.
Basically an insane amount. And then when they're like, oh, all right, Gazoo. Hey, Gazoo, come on, help us out. Gazoo does not come.
Oh.
Yeah, apparently, as he explained shortly after, Gazoo was sleeping because of his long voyage here.
Reminds me of the story of Elijah and the priest of Baal on Mount Carmel, where like they call for Baal to set this cow on fire, and he doesn't, and Elijah makes fun of them, saying maybe Baal's on vacation or maybe he's taking a shit.
Yeah, that's apparently what Gazoo is also about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what happens is that I think Wilma and Betty have to go back home and grab their like vacation money and pay the bill with it.
Oh my god!
Which really sucks for them, but Fred and Barney are very apologetic, and everything's okay by the end of the episode. So in this debut, do you think Gazoo did a good deed or not? Because I think the lesson here is about greed, but I think the way he delivers the lesson is not very good.
No. What is the point of... Like, this isn't greed. It's not greedy to have things.
Yeah. To just have basic things.
Yeah. Like, it's not greedy to have things or even basic things or even nice things. If it's not an inconvenience to Great Gazoo, then, like, they didn't do bad things.
Yeah, they didn't do anything bad.
They didn't do anything bad.
They just assumed they had money from him, and then he, like skipped on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is bad for him.
Yeah, this is a bad deed for him. I'm gonna give that a -1.
All right. I feel very similarly. I'm gonna score him accordingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think like he's a bit of a scamp. But being a bit of a scamp is like they're doing a nice thing. They're treating their wives to dinner.
Yeah. Here's the problem. It's come to the conclusion that capitalism is wrong, but it's saying that the effects of capitalism are wrong. Like, Jeff Bezos, there's no problem with going to space. But
No.
if you go to space because you have billions of dollars because you make your employees pee in water bottles, then that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Then that's greed. It's not greed to go to space.
Mhm.
Neil Armstrong wasn't greedy, Jeff Bezos was.
Okay.
And now he's dead. Thank God. Thank God when he tried to intrude on Jesus Christ's personal domain of outer space.
He cut through that barrier.
Jesus was just like, hey, I saw you did the water bottles. That's fucked up. And also, my special sandals, they're not here. And I ordered them like 2 weeks ago, and they're not here yet.
All right. This next episode is a very bad case for Gazoo. I just want to put that at the point. The Gravelberry Pie King. So in this episode, Gazoo gives Fred bad advice to. Let's interpret this advice. Fred's union, because is getting together to try and get off another holiday. They're trying to get Valentine's Day off.
Oh, that's nice. That's like, why isn't it?
Well,
why isn't it? Well, there's no Valentine yet. There's no Saint Valentine because there's no Jesus. King of Space.
There might be a Jesus. We'll get into it in a few.
Okay, good. Wait, how? Because they made that joke in, like, the Dinosaurs show of, like, they had a New Year's episode, and it was, like, the next year BC, and like, the kid was like, what are we counting down to, Dad?
Yeah, well, they have a Shakespeare episode. So I don't know what... rules are out.
Wait. Come on. They took that they saw that opportunity and they took it, right? Shakespeare? Right?
No, I think
oh my God.
They probably call, like... So here's
that's so bad.
Here's the thing about...
no. Oh, honey. Oh, no.
Well,
the William Shakespeare parody on the Flintstones isn't called William Shakespeare?
No.
That's so awful.
Here's the...
Please tell me it's not like Rockyum Shakespeare. Like...
It might be just like Shake Stone.
No!
I have to tell you...
already a prehistoric pun. It was a silver fucking
Spoiler alert for the entirety of the Flintstones. The rock puns are bad.
Oh
They're not good. They have zero effort into it. Whatever rock pun you can think of without thinking at all is what they used.
Thomas Jefferstone.
Yeah, that's probably the name of the president.
Honestly, it seems like that was better than what they came up with.
So,
Abraham Link Rock.
Basically, Gazoo says to Fred, like, hey, they got a good cause going on there. You should be the spokesman for the union.
Jesus, just king of outer space.
So, Fred is like, oh, good idea. And he does. And then Slate's basically like, hey, that sounds great. I'll give them all a raise, and I'll use your salary because you're fired.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So... And also, pee in this bottle.
Fred, is distraught and going back home, and he's like, how am I going to tell Wilma? And Gazoo gives him more advice, which is, on our planet we have a saying, what she doesn't know won't hurt her.
Oh.
Which is bad advice.
Gaz, I gotta say, no.
Fred continues to pretend like he still has his job, gets a very nice gravelberry pie for lunch, goes to the park like all the other unemployed people, and a rich...
Too true.
Like, a rich guy comes to the park, tries some of his gravelberry pie, and he says, like, this is the best pie ever. I will pay you to make some of these. So he enlists Barney, Betty, Wilma, and his kids to make a pie operation in his house. He takes these pies to, he makes like an ice house and all this stuff. They learn that the cost of making these pies outweighs the price they're getting for them. So they're slowly going in debt during this operation. Gazoo says to Fred, gives him the advice, hey, these pies are worth whatever you make them worth. So you go to him and you say they're worth like 70 cents a pie versus 30 cents. Multiplied by, 65 money.
That's just This is an episode about demanding fair wages. This
Yes.
is an episode about seizing the means of pie production.
Right.
This is an episode about seizing the means of production. This is...
I think it is. Basically, the episode concludes with the pie buyer is like, no, I don't want them then. And Fred can't sell them, and he's in trouble. But Wilma saves the day at the end by convincing the pie lord that he wants them. And sells them, and they make their money back, and then he gets his job back. Like, so, you know,
That's...
nothing ventured, nothing gained. Did Gazoo do a good job?
Gazoo didn't do anything.
He just gave Fred bad advice. That did nothing but hurt him and his family.
Yeah, lying is bad in like a relationship, especially about something so important.
He did say you should, go out, up to bat for your union.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be a net 0 for me.
I'm gonna still give it a -1 because here's the thing: Gazoo has power, and power is responsibility. They're the same thing.
Spider-Man taught me.
Yeah. So like, there are so many better solutions to this. De-harden Mr. Slate's heart.
Yes.
Oh wait, is this another rendition of the long forgotten segment Exodus?
I think so.
Yeah, Mr. Slate has a heart of stone, and the Great Gazoo could have de-hardened it, or possibly something involving Mr. Slate chasing Barney and Fred across the Red Sea in a chariot.
Yeah.
People of Israel, I give you 10 commandments. Number 1 is eat your fucking vitamins and cereal.
They are carved in stone. It's very funny in the show. It
was really on brand. That's Barney. It's changed.
Okay, so in this following episode, the Stone Finger Caper.
Goodbye. No, I'm out. I can't. Nope.
It's like a Bond villain type plot. There's this villain called Stonefinger, and he's trying to find a professor that looks exactly like Barney. Mm-hmm. Gazoo, despite Fred saying that he's nothing but trouble, says like, "Hey, you guys, I just want to make up for all the bad things that have happened because of me. Here's a car, a brand new car, just like in that spy movie you just watched." And they drive around the car until they learn that the car is nothing but trouble. Like nobody wants it when they try to sell it. It attracts like all these spy criminals, and they get like a parking ticket for it. And they don't know what to do with it, and they just tell Gazoo get rid of it, and they eventually in this episode they get basically captured by these criminals, and Gazoo is the one to break them out of jail. Or out of the criminals' hideout. So, in this episode, I would say Gazoo is kind of... it's a mixed bag.
Well, okay. That's an insane consequence for having a nice car.
Is that you get mixed up in spy affair stuff?
Yeah, I don't see what the point of that is at all. And he did also break Barney and Fred out of jail for just, some absolutely stupid shit that happened. So I'm going to go ahead and give him 2. Positive for this, because he did 2 good deeds.
Yeah. Taught them about that and got them out of that. All right.
Gave him a car, broke him out of jail. That's pretty good.
Just a 1 for me. I thought the car activity made sense. Let's see. Seeing double. This is a classic Flintstone scenario with Gazoo around. Which is that, hey, Fred and Barney want to go bowling. But their wives want to take them out to dinner instead.
These are, oh no, 2 fun things that are good to do.
Yeah, oh no, I don't want to spend time with my wife. I want to go bowling.
Oh, right, I forgot. This was back in old-timey times, before divorce was a thing, and so everybody was trapped in a loveless marriage.
Right. We actually get into divorce in the next episode.
I'm not feeling fulfilled.
In this episode, for some reason, Gazoo just lives on the park bench. Oftentimes, he'll zap in and out. He'll sometimes fly in. He'll come out of fridges and objects that they're in. But in this one, he just kind of lives in the park. They have to go to the park to see him there.
Oh, like Aximili from Animorphs?
Yeah, I
He
think
just
so.
has a scoop. He has like a big
He's got a little hideout there.
Yeah.
So, in this one, he's like, I've got a solution for your plans, dum-dums. I'll make duplicates of you.
Why not just time travel?
Time travel's a pretty good idea. We know that he can literally time travel.
Mm-hmm.
What he does is he makes hollow versions of Fred and Barney. The Fred clone only says yes, 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 and the Barney clone says no, no, no.
Okay.
And what they do is they send those clones to their wives while they go bowling.
Wait, why didn't they go bowling? You don't have to talk at bowling. You have to talk at dinner.
Uh-huh. So Wilma's all like, I'm gonna see if Fred seemed so apologetic earlier.
That's your Wilma?
I'm gonna
That was pretty good. That was pretty on brand with my Barney and Fred. You have to do Wilma and Betty.
Okay. It's more of like a Marge kind of Toad voice. I'm gonna go see if Fred wants to go to the most expensive restaurant in town.
It's my Marge.
Yeah.
That one's actually good.
And Fred's all, yes.
Yes.
And Betty's all, are you sure it's not too expensive?
No.
Yeah, and that's how it goes. Basically, they have to go to the restaurant. The clones start dancing with Fred's boss's wife. It's a real awkward scenario.
Flintstone, why are you dancing with my wife? Yes! Yes! Yeah, this bit hasn't gotten old yet. I'm honestly enjoying it.
Yeah. So they basically go back to Gazoo and he gets rid of the clones. He actually at first he gets rid of Fred and Barney, and then he brings them back and gets rid of the clones. So I have a couple.
Thank God for that recycle bin.
Yeah. I've made a list of his powers because of
He
how
can kill people. That's one of his powers.
So things he's exhibited so far. He can snap and freeze a creature in time. He can conjure objects, change people's height and shrink them.
You should have gone for the head, dum-dums.
Destroy objects, polymorph people, levitates Fred, reverses time on a tripping accident. One time someone spills something and he turns it back. Turns a man into a baby. Conjures brainless duplicates. This is where we're at. And he recreates Fred and Barney. So, yeah, that's...
Like Vision in WandaVision?
Pretty much. He reforms them. So, the other thing is that he basically... what he advises them after this is that he says that, how are you supposed to know the difference between what you want and what you think you want? Which, I think...
I don't understand.
I think what he's basically getting at is look, you really wanted to spend time with your wives. You didn't think you wanted to. Thought you wanted to go bowling, but this was clearly the better use of your time. So in avoiding that, you messed things up with them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty good lesson. I think that's a pretty good deed that he did.
Yeah, that's solid.
Yeah, so I give him a 1 for that.
I'll give him a 2.
Okay.
That's a very good moral. The moral is, what is this boomer nonsense?
Yeah,
I am a Gen Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z Z talks, and this boomer shit. I'm having none of it over here. Now watch me T-pose.
This next episode is
Dum-dums.
Is the troubling one of the bunch.
Why is Great Gazoo just my normal voice? This is a problem. All of the others are these insane monster versions. And the Great Gazoo is just my normal. Alright.
How to pick a fight with your wife without really trying. It's the name of this episode. I'm not gonna lie, this one's a weird one. Gazoo gives Fred bad relationship advice.
I'm just gonna live down here. Just curled up in a ball under the director's chair. Don't mind me.
Meanwhile, Betty and Wilma are having a similar back and forth. It's kind of like a Battle of the Sexes episode.
This is what the whole episode is. It's pterodactyl sounds of dinosaur noises.
Yeah. towards the end.
There's two genders, pterodactyls and dinosaurs. Which one are you? Go.
Pterodactyls.
Hell yeah, pterodactyls.
Basically, throughout the episode, Fred's like, I'm getting out of here. I'm moving out. I'm leaving. I'm gonna hang out with Barney for a few. And like, what's really funny is that Barney's like the one doing like the domestic stuff around his house still. And Fred's just like, he defaults no matter what to being the angry husband.
Well, Fred is the taller of the two men. And so therefore he gets to be on top. Therefore he's the dom.
He's the dom-dom.
That's how...
Gazoo doesn't do any magic this episode. He just tells Fred that, like, that men have it, like, got it up here when women don't. And meanwhile, like, Betty's saying that to Wilma, like, women got up here, but men don't. And that's the back and forth of the episode. And I would say this is a bad time for Gazoo. This is
minus 11.
It's minus 2 is how it works.
Minus 11.
So, but yeah, this is a bad time.
All right, fine, but I'm going to add that minus 11 across the course of the next episodes. If I think it's a 2, I'm going to say minus 2 until I make up that debt.
That's fine. This next one is a fun example of what Gazoo can do.
All right.
This is called the Long, Long, Long Weekend.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one where, basically, so I've said this before, Gazoo's powers are all over the place. Sometimes he kind of like casts wishes and stuff like that. This episode, he says this phrase: "Hoop-dee-doop and fiddle-dee-dee, I'm sending these kooks to the 21st century." He teleports the 4 of them on their like long weekend to the Jetsons' future.
Okay.
This is not a crossover episode. They just live in the Jetsons like environment for this episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they take like sky buses to Mars and the moon, and they they on those moving platforms up in the sky, and yeah, so this is the extent of what Gazoo does. In this episode, Fred he gets a loan from his boss early in the episode. He gives him like a $3 like advance in his paycheck with a 6% interest, and then in the future, like his great ancestor is like, "Hey, you're Flintstone, right? You owe me like $12 million."
That's what institution, what bank lasts that long?
I know, right?
What country lasts that long? What currency lasts that long? That's not how money. What is the conversion rate of rocks to dollars?
I have no idea.
Because in the Jetsons, they use dollars.
Yeah, and they also use big dollar money, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, there's inflation jokes.
They add like 1,000 to everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the situation they get into there, and eventually he's all like, Gazoo, send me back, and he does. But it's just like Gazoo gives him a vacation in this episode. It's not really a good deed, because he's immediately like, oh man, that sucked, I don't want to go to the future. I like my own time just fine.
Wait, Gazoo is trapped in the past.
He does, yes. But he can send them briefly to the future.
Oh.
Yeah. It's also a experience that Wilma and Betty forget. I didn't mention this earlier. Gazoo is only seen by Fred, Barney, and kids and animals.
That's dumb.
It's a really
because
dumb
women
thing.
aren't smart enough? Is that it?
No, I think it's because like the animals. The reason is so they have some fun animated scenes between Gazoo and the creatures and kids. Yeah, then was he making like a slide for him?
I thought it was gonna be some sexist bullshit.
The majority of the show was pretty
sexist bullshit.
Yeah,
which is why I'm going to give this episode a -2.
Okay.
Because I would have given it a +1. So what I've done here is I've bought myself 3 towards my -11 from earlier.
All right, this isn't gonna be fun if you're gonna just accumulate that.
No, I'm doing math.
I know, but
no, I like this. This is fun. This is math. Math is power.
We're trying to determine if Gazoo is correct.
Yeah,
if he's made mistakes and forgiven him and like done better things.
Guilty.
So I'm gonna give him a 0 for this one. Nothing. It wasn't really a good time or not.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 2 Men and a Dinosaur. This is the one that you saw.
Ah, okay.
This is the one where basically Gazoo, he uses Fred's television to talk to his home base. The Zatokians and the Mula Mulas or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, and he basically he's like, hey, have I done enough good deeds yet? And they're like, no.
Which, let's look at our current score.
Sure.
Let's check in at the halfway point.
Yeah, let me sum these up. All right, so I'm got a total of -1 on my side. You got a -2.
So that's a -3 so far.
Yeah.
Out of what is that?
It's not
5?
positive. That's the part I care about.
It's a -3 out of 5.
Mm-hmm. So it's. I agree with their determination that no, you haven't done anything good yet. What are you talking about?
No, yeah.
Yeah. So in this one, he tries to help out some more. He sees that Fred and Barney are really interested in the dino races, which are like horse races, and he tells them what the winning, dinos are. So they go to the races, they bet, and they win. They win big, too big, because like the horse jockeys? No, that's the people on the horses. The horse betters, the dino,
the people that set the bets, the payout people. Oh gosh, I don't know.
Yeah. The thugs that run the show, they're like, hey,
the thugs. Okay.
Yeah, they're like, hey, you guys know the winning horses. Tell us the winning horses. We're gonna lock you up, and they do.
This was a common problem way back in Boomer times.
Yeah, you can't squelch on these bets. On these bets.
There were squelch bets. There were horses. There were mobsters. It was a crazy time back in Boomer times. Thank God we live in the 21st century.
And all
sky buses to Mars or whatever.
And all the boomers are extinct.
Thank God all the boomers went extinct when that meteor hit.
My favorite gag in this episode is the one where he has the gun, but it's also a slingshot.
He's like pointing it at Fred, and it's supposed to be like, oh, haha, isn't it funny that the gun's not a gun? But also, like, there's a gun being pointed at him.
This is for children. Yeah, what Gazoo does is he tells, the thugs the wrong bets, the wrong horses to win.
Mm-hmm.
So they keep doubling down, they keep losing money, and eventually with their bad numbers, they get mad at Fred and Barney. And so in this episode, Gazoo and the TV says this at the end. He's like, hey, you both gave good advice, but he also gave bad advice. Like, why are you messing around with these guys betting?
Yeah, if you, it was like, I taught them a lesson about greed, and then they were like, but if you didn't do any of this in the first place, they wouldn't have done anything like this in the first place, so you're back to nothing.
Yeah, they were just giving him they were just enjoying TV.
Yeah.
They were just watching TV in their Stone Age. And he's like, I'm gonna get money involved in this. So, yeah, that's gonna be a neutral for me. 0.
Yeah, -2. I will repay my debts.
All right. Curtain call at Bedrock. Fred, from this definition, you'll see that Fred, Wilma, Barney, and Betty put on the play Romeo Rock and Juliet Stone.
All right. So
it's a Shakespeare production or a Shakespeare Stone production, something uncreative like that. And in this episode's all about Fred's personal conflicts with himself. And I think it's actually one of the better ones of the lot, because it's about how Fred is too embarrassed. He's like, I do not want to play Romeo. It is Wilma's production. She's putting it on. And she's like, hey, I just want to help support you. Meanwhile, she casts Barney in the lead role, and Barney is he's not very good. But meanwhile, Fred is doing all these Shakespeare bits on in the dark when no one's watching. And it's a whole episode where everyone's like, you should probably just be the one to do this. What they get Gazoo's help for is because Barney's really terrible at his lines, so they get Gazoo to imprint the entirety of the script into Barney's head. And that's not where this episode backfires. That works out just fine. And I think he does a good deed by helping Barney learn his lines.
I mean, he thinks he's really Romeo Rock or whatever.
No, he just
that's the episode. That's the bit. I just made a better episode for you, George Hanlon.
Yeah, so that's
you fucking silent generation motherfucker. Why don't you go hang out with Bernie Sanders back in old timey times? You fuck.
Yeah, following.
Tell him to run for president
earlier,
but stronger, and in a way that makes him win. Please, I need healthcare so bad.
So the part where this episode goes wrong is that eventually Barney feigns illness. Fred has to fill in for him. But then Wilma gets actual illness. She has laryngitis, so like Barney fills in for Wilma.
I'm starting to really feel empathetic with Wilma here after all these Flintstone impressions.
Yeah, so the play is a disaster, but
to be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them rock. Ha 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 ha.
Hey, Fred, you reading from a Hamlet rock?
Rocks! Rocks! Rocks!
The newspaper calls it a great comedy at the end. So despite the disaster, I think in this episode Gazoo did a really good job. He did nothing but help them out.
Yeah.
He did kind of sit and laugh at them on stage, but that was their own doing.
Yeah, it was silly.
Yeah, so I'm giving him a +2 for this one.
I would also give him a +2, except I need to repay my debt, so it's a -2, and that actually brings me back to the equivalent of a -11 for how to pick a fight with your wife, you boomer fuck. The full name of that episode.
This is proto-boomer. This is what boomers grew up on. That's what made them so wrong.
That explains everything.
Episode... Alright, the penultimate episode... Oh, I'm sorry, not penultimate.
Well, I don't know, wait, so the baby boom was, like, after World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, 1946. This episode happened in 1966. So, like...
I guess 60 is the back end of the boomers. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking of.
So the earliest boomers would have been like 20 to late teens in 66.
Mm-hmm. So I guess they are like in the. I would say that's still it's around. That's
still a little before. Yeah, that's still a little before they would have been producing content.
Yeah. So let's do the last three here. Mm-hmm. Boss for a Day.
Boss for a Day.
This is a pretty classic sitcom premise, and the Great Gazoo delivers it. Fred's really frustrated at work. His boss makes him late. Then his boss keeps a really sharp eye on him with surveillance equipment. It's in the Stone Age, like cameras and watching him and all that stuff. He really is mad because he's been micromanaged all this way, and he's complaining to Gazoo, and Gazoo's like, "Hey, have it your way. I'm gonna make you boss for a day. You're gonna magically be the boss." And Fred's like, "Oh," he's like, "Great, this is gonna be perfect." And he goes into work late, and he's fine. He's doing well. He's having a good time. He's giving all these cigars to Barney and stuff.
Smoke this.
Hey, yo, Fred, I don't think that's a good idea.
Thank you, Fred.
Your Barney's a lot more agreeable than mine.
Yours is actually a good impression, though, I will say.
Thanks.
Hit me with a Fred.
Wilma, I just want to go bowling.
That was better than mine.
Dino, I hate everyone and myself. I'm going to sling gun.
Well, you're...
I don't have a college degree.
You're... Your Fred Flintstone impression was brief but beautiful like a diamond.
It rocks. What can I say? Fred shortly learns that his boss Slate had a boss, the chairman of the board.
Oh. And
the chairman invites him to meetings where he just gets talked down to a lot. And he's given a lot of works and reports that he has to do, and he can't clock out at 5 o'clock like he normally does. He has to stay late because he's on like a different salary system.
Mm-hmm.
So he leaves, and it's like, this is the worst I ever had. And Gazoo's like, well, yeah, good thing you're going back to work your regular life earlier. It's very, It's a Wonderful Life. Because, Gazoo basically uses magic to get him to realize that, like, he was wrong.
Is Wilma, like, not in the picture then?
In this episode, like, the main thing is that once she learns that he's the boss on that day, she's, like, buying, like, oh, I better get some bosses' wives, like, outfits.
Oh, so she's in on it?
She's, I think when the spell is cast, like, she's part of the, enchantment.
Oh, so it's not like an alternate reality thing. It's like
it's
everyone just collectively agrees that Fred is boss now.
8 to 5, like, that's what happened. Yeah, everyone was just like, oh yeah, Fred's the boss. For this entire day.
Herbert and Allen, this one writing team, have a very interesting...
Yeah, I think they have a better take on the situation. Although
they have a very weird take on capitalism, where it's all like, capitalism is correct because everything ties up nicely at the end of the story for no reason.
And that's how most Flintstone episodes are shaped. By the end of it, they're like, everyone's happy no matter what trouble they got into in the middle.
Yeah.
Like, so kind of sitcom style. Yeah. So that's Boss for a Day. I think this is probably one of Gazoo's best deeds that he does.
Yeah, it's very much like...
He basically improves Fred's quality of life.
The moral is like, your immediate superior is not the king of the world because we're all crushed under capitalism.
He's also like,
Rock.
Your boss has it just as bad as you do. And sometimes worse in ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't get mad at him. He's kind of doing his thing too.
Get mad at the bourgeoisie.
Yeah, so it's a 2 for me.
I'll give it a 2.
So, this next episode is Jealousy. Classic sitcom premise. Fred wants to go bowling. Mm-hmm. His wife wants to go to a violin recital. And so he...
Whose violin recital?
A violin recital.
Is that a thing you can just do?
I guess so. Like, maybe like some first chair is having like a separate concert.
I thought only like children and students had instrument recitals.
It could be for the school. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a violin recital. That's what they call it.
They don't have school-age children, so...
No, they don't. They have like an infant.
Yeah.
And Bam Bam's like a toddler. And they're like old. I don't like... But I found this very crazy, even by like... Because my standard like method is that maybe it's like a boomer thought process of like, oh yeah, in your 20s you have your kids. And like nowadays it's like, it's pushing closer to, early 30s. Right. And stuff like that. But... Fred and Wilma are like 44 and 43. They're
pretty old.
And they've been married for like 10 years.
That's pretty weird.
And like Fred, I think in one of these episodes establishes like a high school dropout. So I'm like, what did Fred do from like 16 to like 36?
Huh.
Like it's a real weird, like there's 20 years of his life that are just missing.
Yeah, there's no need for that.
No. Maybe, okay, so maybe as a thing at the time, maybe it was like a World War II thing?
Was he fighting, like, we'll get into the research that I did for this episode.
Well, I will say that the story of the Rocky Raiders, the last Flintstones episode, is about, like, World War I style stories from, like, Fred's grandfather. Yeah. So, that happens.
Well, anyway, so jealousy. So what continues to happen?
Basically, what happens is that Fred wants to go bowling, so he feigns...
Of course.
Yeah. He feigns being sick, and so Wilma's all like, I'll one of my childhood friends in town, I'm going to bring him as my date instead. And Fred's like, perfect! And then he learns about this childhood friend, who is a real stud muffin. His name is Wilbur. He's an Olymp Rocks weightlifting champion.
Let me see. Do you have a picture? Is that what you're Googling?
No.
On your telephone right now?
I forget his name.
Get rid of that last name. No one cares. No one knows.
There he is.
Yeah. It's just Fred from Scooby-Doo. It's just Fred from Scooby-Doo.
He's got like an ascot and all that stuff. And yeah, that's how it goes. So he's like, he's like a real dreamboat, and he finds out that they had like pet names for each other in school, and he's very, very concerned. That he's like, uh-oh, like I messed myself up this way.
Ah, fuck. He's so hot. Shit.
I'm getting cucked by this Olympirokian.
Fuck. God.
Yeah.
I just want to throw a rock at
So
rocks.
He goes to bowling. He's miserable. He's like, Barney, we got to go to that dance. And he goes to the dance, and this is a lot of more Fred's faults than Gazoo's. Because at the dance, he, like, his moves are like, first, he sees him dancing. It's this recital, then there's, like, a separate dance afterwards. And he's like, he says to Gazoo, this guy probably only knows, like, waltzes and stuff like that. Why don't you speed up the music? Like, then, and show him for the phony that he is. And Gazoo does, and apparently he's, like, a dance god. And he's cutting a rug with Wilma. Mm-hmm. And Fred's, like, real upset about that. So Fred's shitty move is like, hey, can you use your magic to dress Barney up like a girl? And then we'll go out there and we'll make my wife jealous. So that's Fred's plan. And
all around me are familiar faces.
Barney, the trooper that is, goes along with it. And they dance and they do a good job. And
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Does it look like is it just like Barney, the regular character model, but like with lipstick and a wig and a dress, or is it like you've got a picture?
Yeah. I was gonna say that's about it.
Oh no, Barney's missing his normal stubble.
Yeah, they replaced his stubble with like pouty lips.
Okay, so this is a physical transformation that Gazoo did.
Yeah, you turn him from clean shaven to.
This is a physical transformation that Gazoo did.
Yeah,
I think.
Mm-hmm. Temporarily, he flips them back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what.
Mm-hmm. So this episode was written by a trans person.
I wouldn't say that this is a trope in a lot of kids' cartoons.
Yeah. Yeah, this episode was written by someone who were not for the grace of society would be trans or would be a step to the left. This is an egg cracker episode for the boomers. This is yeah, no, this is a trope that happens a lot in children's television, and it's an awakening moment for a lot of queer people, including myself. This is a recurring trope that, frankly, I find weird to look back on.
Yeah.
It just introduces the concept of adaptability, of
like gender bending,
of changeability, of a refusal to accept the status quo. It introduces that concept to an audience that otherwise would have no idea of it. So, in that, it's a service. But it's also, it feels uncomfortably close, for me, personally, to the argument of, think of the children, what about the children, kind of moral crusader thing of, censoring cartoons and video games and whatnot. But it's like what you're censoring them from is reality, is like the fact of the thing. And I don't know what my point is. I just wanted to not leave that elephant in the room because that's my vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, it's a trope that happens, and like it's been happening before this. It's been happening after this, and it's not something that the episode mostly ignores it too after this.
Gazoo said trans rights.
Yeah. So at the end of the episode, it's about Fred kind of goes back to Wilma, who Wilma very much says oh man, Wilbur, I forgot how boring that guy was. That guy's the worst. What a bore. And then Fred's like, yeah, you're right, and I'm sorry. And he basically he doesn't say that he's sorry. He's just like, I told you about that loser. I'm gonna get some pie. And then he goes to the fridge and Gazoo pies him, and he's like, you asshole, apologize to your wife. Make it up to her.
Mhm.
And for that, he's getting about +2 for me.
Okay. Wait, so Harvey Korman is the
Harvey Bullock
voice.
and R.S. Ellen were the writers of this.
Why does Harvey Bullock sound familiar?
I don't know.
It really does.
Harvey Bullock is the name of a DC character.
Okay, that is entirely why I'm
But yeah, he did all kinds of stuff.
Okay, that's why I thought he sounded familiar.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm gonna also give it a +2 because I mean, I shudder. I shudder to think of the degree of LGBTQ phobia contained within this episode. Thankfully, I didn't see it.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I would not call it a phobia.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that. This is a fun fact for you. Barney is voiced by this, and maybe this has more history than I think. But Barney is voiced by
Mel Blanc,
Mel Blanc,
who did Bugs Bunny. Gender fluid icon.
Gender fluid icon Bugs Bunny, and he does switch between voices. He sounds like Barney, and he sounds like Barbara. this female version.
You could have solved the problem by divorcing Wilma and just marrying girl Barney. All problems solved, dum-dums.
All right, the final episode is. I hate how often this comes up. It's called My Fair Freddy. This one is about high society.
Okay.
So, for the third time, there's a rich, ritzy ball in town. And it's about how these, socialite ladies are like, oh, the Flintstones want to join our exclusive club. Where they, a bunch of golf courses and stuff like that.
Let me ask you, this country club.
Mm-hmm.
How many black cavemen at this country club?
I could not tell you.
I'm willing to bet none. I'm willing to bet none.
It is 1966.
It is 1966, and racism's even worse. And so is everything else that's bad.
So the Wilma's is talking to Betty about Dino, their pet, and they got his pedigree in the mail. And apparently he's descended from royalty. And the socialites overhear this in the window, and they think they're talking about Fred. And it's like, oh, if he's royalty, we better snap him up. So they sent him an invitation, and he's all like, well, I'm not made for this place.
It's good to be the king.
Yeah, so he's like, I need to become better at this. And Gazoo's there, and he's very much oh, don't worry, I'll just, I'll magic you into a acceptable gentleman. And Fred, at this point in the series, is really done with Gazoo's magic. He's like, your magic caused nothing but trouble. He literally says at one point in this episode, you'll kill us with your good intentions. And what he does in this moment is he grabs a mirror and uses it to deflect Gazoo's magic. It hits Barney instead, who gets all posh for briefly. So basically, what they agree to then is Gazoo's like, oh, I've done centuries of charm school. I'll just give you old-fashioned coaching. I'll give you some good tips, and so you can you can follow them through.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he does, and that involves Fred doing all the classic high society stuff. Balancing books on his head. He does ballerina dance, which is a hilarious sight for everyone that watches, all his neighbors, and he gets all embarrassed.
Very Fantasia.
Yeah. And what he ultimately says is I don't want to do this. This is not me. This is not fair. Let's go to that party. I'm going to be myself. And he and Wilma go, and they do some kind of a very I would say embarrassing pauper dance. But everyone there was having a lousy time, and when they show up and they have a good time, everyone has a good time. So basically they get a lot of good friends, and things work out well, but not because of anything Gazoo did, because of what Fred chose to do. So I thought it was a good moral of this one. It's a be yourself, Disney style moral. But I think Gazoo didn't do anything wrong necessarily. And it was very helpful. So I would give him a +1 for this myself.
I'll give him around 0. It seems like he didn't really change anything.
No, if he did nothing, that's the problem. That's my major point of that leaving the Flintstones as media. It's like, these were made to entertain kids on a shoestring budget. They really stretch out like a 10-minute plot into a 25-minute episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I pointed out how often Gazoo floats so that they can animate him by just moving the cell around on a background.
Yeah, it was very obvious in the episode we watched. You can literally see like somehow dirty some of those cells are in this one. It's real. It's something else. All right, so the end score here is that I've given Gazoo a 6 and you've given him a -2.
It seems a little high.
At the end, do you think Gazoo did enough good deeds to be welcomed back home?
Well, he's in 11 episodes.
Yes.
And he's got a final score of 4. That's less than half. And in terms of percentage, that is 36%. I don't think a 36% is a passing grade.
I would agree.
I think Gazoo is trapped on prehistoric Earth.
At least he has to stick around for more seasons that he'll never get. Yep. He's trapped in this time. And I think he can do good there.
He invented a doomsday device for no reason.
Mm-hmm. His reason that he explains is that I had to be the first one on the block to get it.
All right.
Which is not a good reason.
No.
And I think he has more good to do in the Flintstone era.
Well, you know what? Hey, actually, so in 2016, let's flash forward 50 years.
Okay.
Doctor Who theme. So, in 2016, Mark Russell wrote a limited Flintstones comic for DC Comics.
That I understand you read for this episode.
I did. I read it in its entirety. It was a 12-issue run. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot darker than the Flintstones originally was. There's a lot of philosophy, and there's a lot of existentialism. And there's a lot of for example, Fred and Barney are war veterans.
Okay.
And the Grand Poobah Lodge, is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
That's a veteran support group. And this is a direct quote from Fred at the end of this war that he and Barney fought. Mm-hmm. We weren't protecting our families. Everything they told us about the tree people attacking us, it was all a lie. How do you know? And then he pulls a doll out of some rubble, because who brings their children to an invasion?
Yeah, is that overly serious?
It's overly... It's gritty with a purpose, I would say. Okay. It is also funny, but it's also extremely dark humor. The most important character in all of comics history is Vacuum Cleaner, the elephant, and his friend Bowling Ball, the armadillo, who are a vacuum cleaner and a bowling ball, and they don't have other names. They are extremely important. They're so good. Oh my gosh, I can't get into it without spoilers. But...
Okay, well, I got you. Do you think is Gazoo featured at all?
He is.
How? Well,
so, in one of the early comics, a bunch of aliens come to Earth, and they just introduce themselves. They say hi. They check things out. Mr. Slate offers to be their puppet ruler because he's so rich, and they're like, "Thanks, but we're not really interested." And they leave, and they just say, "Let's just add this to Galactopedia and move on." And then that's the first couple pages of the issue, and then the rest of the issue is a bunch of teenage aliens come to Bedrock for spring break and just ruin the place. Mm-hmm. Eventually, Gazoo is installed as kind of an enforcer of the zoo hypothesis.
That the human planet's like a zoo experiments for other people to look at, not touch.
He's a game warden, essentially. Yeah. And he's here to make sure that no aliens interfere with humanity's natural development. Mm-hmm. And a perfect example is there's a scene where the Flintstones are having a picnic, and the spider alien comes out of a spaceship and is like, "Hey, listen, so I was just flying by, and it looks like you got way more liquid water than you need, and I was wondering if you were willing to part with one or two of your oceans for these beats." And Fred's like, "I don't think we're supposed to sell those." Then Gazoo shows up and is like, "What's going on here?" Nothing, officer. I was just leaving. Yeah, you were. Okay, later.
Well, I guess in that case, it's good that our verdict is that Gazoo sticks around.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
then, eventually, what happens is Zetox calls Gazoo back
Okay.
to offer like an assessment. Essentially, Gazoo is offering an assessment for betting odds on Zetox to see if humanity is going to make it on Earth.
Okay.
And it starts out really bad. And like Gazoo actually goes in. There's this one where he has this very like grim view of humanity that's juxtaposed with Fred saving a worker at the quarry who's trapped under some rocks.
Mm.
It's really nice writing.
Yeah.
And
So it sounds like you'd recommend this series.
I would. And the Zetox sends the neighborhood association to Earth to judge whether or not they're worthy of being included, or if they're going to be destroyed. And so Gazoo is like, okay, so you're going to pick an Earthling, and you're going to judge how good all Earthlings are based on this one person. They're like, right. And so he picks Dino. And they're like, yeah, they're mostly harmless. That's fine. We don't have to blow these people up.
Good pick. I would pick the same.
And then Gazoo goes into, like, the last issue is just Gazoo meditating on, like, this report of, like, why did I save the human species? Like, I don't know. You know, they started out and their hunter-gatherer instincts were useful back then, and now it's just greed, and, like, they need to learn how to be... They're children now. They're destructive children that have learned how to break their toys. And they need to learn how to be adults. And they're still in a destructive, exploratory phase. And that exploration is itself an exploration of increasing power. An exploration of increasing responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And that is itself beautiful. And that should be preserved. Oh. And that's kind of the thesis of the whole
tale.
Yeah, and then
a glowing endorsement.
Yeah, and then Gazoo going away and everybody wishing him goodbye is the finale of the Flintstones 2016 run. So Gazoo did get a finish.
Yeah, I'm glad that some creator like looked at that work and said like, hey, this is a story unfinished. Let me do my take and say goodbye.
So if we're counting the 2016 run, I would say Gazoo goes home.
Yeah, and I'm all for that based on what you've said.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm glad Gazoo found a happy ending, and why don't we find a happy ending for him in our final rating place?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Gazoo is he is an alien, a wizard, a warden, and a friend. He's gonna get an 8 out of 10 from me.
I like how Mark Russell, in the 2016 run, was able to extract an actual character, an actual, like, philosophical instrument out of nothing.
Out of this, like, genie, like, toy.
Out of this, we completely ran out of ideas, and we're so high because weed's not even illegal yet or some shit.
Yeah, no, I can still buy hemp for $0.25.
Yeah.
Whatever happened was in the 60s.
Yeah. 60s Gazoo is a tight 0 out of 10. Just end the show.
Admit that you have no more ideas left.
2016 Gazoo is a 9 out of 10. So I will cancel out both of those into a 4.5 out of 10.
Okay.
For the general concept of Gazoo and his life and his great works. Gazoo. Yeah. Future king of outer space. Look out, Jesus.
So I hope you've enjoyed our expedition into space. And hopefully we spend this next episode a little closer to ground.
Well...